Right, let's get started here. Welcome. Kron Kriz, nice to see you here. Let's see what we can get done here in the next couple of hours. I've got an Azure pipeline that I want to add some stuff to. Let's back that up and get that in a different tab. So my goal today is basically going to be to add some more features to this DevBetter web application, and I've got some other work I need to do with Azure DevOps, unrelated to this project, but I'm going to use this project as my testing ground. So let's see if we can do some things with code coverage, running some unit tests, maybe break the build if the tests don't pass, things like that. And while we're at it, we'll display how many tests are passing here, which I've already got on a different GitHub. So let's start with that. Let's see, github.com/Ardalis. I think I put it on guard clauses. And do I? Nope, must be the other one. So in smart enum, perhaps? There it is, test passing. Alright, so we're going to steal that code. Right there, test status. And we're going to add that to DevBetter Web as our first thing, just because I want to see how many tests there are. And that's just a matter of tweaking the name of the project, I believe. So its definition ID is 5, so that becomes a 5, and the project name is DevBetter Web, so that goes there. And theoretically that's enough. I should be able to preview it, and it tells me, ooh, you have no tests. And that's because my build isn't actually running the tests, so I'm going to have to steal that as well. So this is good enough for now. Adding test count shield to the README. This will actually kick off a test, which is fine. Alright, and feel free to ask any questions as I'm going through this stuff. Hopefully you guys can hear me and stuff like that. Because I've had problems with that in the past. I think we're okay though. Alright, the other thing I changed is I'm actually working on this on a different machine, and I'm remoted in. Last week there were some issues with stream quality, where when I would build, it would get a little choppy because I was chewing up too much CPU on streaming. Now, let's see, I dialed back my settings on the stream a little bit, so we're not using up quite as much, so probably be okay in any case. Alright, so if you have questions, post them in the chat. Hey, till next, thanks for checking in. I will make sure that this makes it out to YouTube when I'm done, so you can check it out there after the fact. Alright, let's see. And I'm assuming you all can hear me okay, because nobody's complaining that I'm talking here silently, so we'll go with that. Alright, so we need to add some tests, so we're going to steal that from this other guy over here as well. I'm all about copy-pasting code when it comes to getting stuff working that I've already got working somewhere else. So to get a test to run, I'm using this task inside my Azure Pipelines.yaml. I'm just going to run that same task over here in the DevBetter Web Azure pipeline, and hopefully that'll work. So that looks about right, and I think I have tests. That would be a good thing for me to check as well, but I'm pretty sure I've got some. Let's just commit this, adding a test task, commit that, and that should be all I need at this point. So we're going to watch our builds. And when this one finishes, we should see test results. Alright, so here's that. And I need to give that a better label. There's a way to do that. I'm going to do that here too. That's display name. So let's do that. We'll just add it here. I'm not sure where that goes. Task inputs, that's the inputs. I know YAML's case, or not case, whitespace sensitive. I think that's probably what I want. Probably I can put that there, like that. And then this becomes .NET Test, let's say. That is what I'm running. So, add display name to test task. Alright, commit that. Where are you on vacation, THL Next? See if he's still here. Alright, so that's committed as well. Ew, that's not good. Let's view logs. That's like, here, view the detailed logs. Oh, but you can't. Alright, what do we see here? Probably this is going to be a matter of me switching to a Windows build, I'm guessing. So I've had that happen before. Could not find part of the path or NuGet scratch, whatever this is. I don't really know what the issue is with that. It's weird because that's not even the thing I changed. That used to work. That one worked though. It wasn't until after I added the test task that it started failing. So this one's probably going to fail as well any second now. Alright, so script content is .NET build. That should just work. I'm not sure why it's not. Do I need to do some kind of a NuGet restore step? It should do that automatically. This one worked fine. Note that it's using that. I needed that because this one does 461, .NET 461 builds, not just .NET Core. Whereas DevBetter Web does not do that, so it shouldn't need it. And so it's running on Linux. I wonder if that'll fix it though. See if the other one failed as well. It's still running. It did the build okay. Interesting. This one's trying to create a SQL Server DB context. That's probably not going to end well. Alright, let's run these tests locally and see how that goes for us. Because the tests should be wired up not to use a real SQL Server. Let me just make sure, since this isn't my usual machine, we'll crank up the font for you. 16 ought to be good enough. If you have any trouble seeing things, please let me know. And the tests don't work. Well, that explains why they're not working on the server as well, these integration tests. Cannot open the database. Login failed. Alright, well I don't want to be talking to a database. I want to be talking to an in-memory database. Alright, so let's talk about how we're configuring these tests. So in here, we're using a custom web application factory. And theoretically, it is adding an in-memory database here. And here. So everything here is in-memory, in-memory. We're going to seed that database here. Alright, and then in startup, it's doing that, but I should be overriding that with what I have in my test, and apparently I'm not. So for now, let's, I know I changed this last week so I could start looking at the real data. So let's verify that this still works with the tests when I put this back. And then let's figure out how we can not have to do that every time and still get our test to work, because that would be ideal. So there's that one, and then there's another one inside of the identity area that we need to change. I think that's the identity dbcon. There it is. Whoa, what was that? Interesting. No idea what made that sound. Someone followed, maybe? Maybe that's what that sound was. No, a bunch of people followed. No, it must be what it was. It must be a follow. So thanks, brand new Bikesor, for following. Did they know who I was? I'm not that famous. What did they say, brand new Bikesor? They were like, who the heck is that? Oh, they didn't. Okay, see? I told you I'm not famous. Alright, let's fix this. Just use this for the DB name. I guess that can just be that for now. Sometimes I'll use GUID.new GUID there, and that works fine too. Alright, let's make sure these tests run, and then we'll figure out how to pull that out of here so it's not messing up our tests. Turn view with correct message. Did not find clean architecture.web in that. Right, well that's because you're not going to. Let's look for a different string and that'll fix that test. So that's the home controller index should. We want it to contain just some string that exists on the page, and that should do it. Alright, so let's run that test and we'll do a quick commit. Cool. Alright, so now we'll do some command line committing. We're just going straight to master for now. So add all the things. Fixing tests. Using in-memory provider. And really I'm just trying to get to the point where the tests run correctly in Azure DevOps. Alright, that's the task I'm trying to complete right now. So out here, I see my build is failing and I have no tests. That's what we're hoping to fix. This thing isn't even picking up the commit yet. Come on, you gotta be faster than that. Did my commit fail? Rejected. Updates were rejected. Remote work contains work you do not have locally. Alright, that's why. So pull that in. That's because I had updated the README file. I'm going to reject it over that. Alright, there we go. Now we should be good. Okay. That's my change. That's right now. Good, good. So let's just watch it in progress. Now the challenge when you're doing these type of tests on an ASP.NET Core application, and you want your tests to use an in-memory database and or a SQLite database, either way, and you want your regular application to use a real SQL server, is you need to be able to configure that somehow from the test and differently from how you do it in startup. And so there's a few ways I do that. A common one is to use an environment, and you can specify an environment of testing or production or what have you, and then do different configuration based on that. So that's probably what I'll end up doing here once I verify this is working. And the other thing I want to do is get code coverage in Azure DevOps working, and this guy, another MVP, Gunner, has some nice articles on this, which are not coming up in my search. There we go. Code coverage reports in Azure DevOps. I want to get his Gunnar Piteman stuff working in my Azure DevOps. So he's got some stuff here we're going to try and do next once we get this step working. What I'd really like to see is on my home page here a badge that shows code coverage, and even better would be a badge that shows kind of code coverage over time. And there's another guy that's got some stuff that might work for that I want to look at. And his name is Dustin. I've got this on another computer, but I don't have it handy. I know I just blogged about it. It's this one. Yeah, so he has some GitHub thing called, it's Dustin Morris, that's Stack Overflow. Where's your GitHub? GitHub. He has a GitHub thing called CI Build Stats that looks like this and builds these SVG things. I want something like this for code coverage, so that over time I can see code coverage is going up or down. And I don't know if he has that already working somewhere. I didn't see it when I quickly looked this over. But if we have time, that's what I want to get to next, is show me the build history for my project, and not just the passing and failing in time of the build, but also the code coverage. Okay, so there's kind of my to-do list for this. Share that link for code coverage. This one? Yeah, I'll throw that in the chat. There's that, and then the other one is this CI build stats. Throw that in there. And then the thing I'm working on is this DevBetter website, which is for my DevBetter coaching program that I'm doing for folks that want to have a private coaching program. Look at that, 7 tests passed. Alright, so we're good now. Having a passing build with passing tests, one of the things that we can do is turn on gated check-ins for our project, which is nice. So we'll do that too. I don't want to do that just yet though, because that's just going to slow down my ability to just push changes to master. So let me show you how that works, and then maybe at the end we'll do that. So in your settings on GitHub, you can go to your branches, and then there's a branch protection. You can add rules. So let's say I have a rule that I want to enforce that says you can't just commit directly to master. You have to use a pull request. And then beyond that, I could say, hey, your pull request has to pass the build before you can merge it. Right? This is pretty common for real projects. So I can add a rule, and I can say the pattern is master. And I could say you have to have a review. We'll skip that because nobody's reviewing my stuff on this one. But you could say it has to have a status check. So we check that. And it will check and see if there's anything that's reporting status. And right now, because I've got Azure DevOps set up, and it's already run a few times, you can see in that badge that it's been successful. GitHub has been notified already about that. And so it sees that there's this Ardalis DevBetter web check. We can also require branches be up to date so that they have the latest. So you're not going to end up merging a branch and not know there's a problem until you accept the pull request. So that one's always good to check. And then we'll say we have to have these status checks. And then if you include administrators, that means like even me, even the admin for the thing, has to go through all these steps. I will go ahead and add this, and since I'm not including administrators, I'll be able to bypass it. So we'll create this. And then we'll do the authentication thing, and that works. All right. Okay. And so what that means now is if I do a pull request, there's going to be a little thing that's going to run, and it's going to turn green after the test passes. Or it won't if the test fails. Okay. So now let's make it so that I can run this thing in my local environment with a SQL Server database or in production, but that it uses in memory. So obviously I don't want to keep switching back and forth. Oh look, there's my string DB name. I don't want to have to keep commenting code in and out just to get my test to pass, right? That's not going to work well. So we need a way to switch this up based on what environment I'm running in. And so my environments that I can control when I run at development time are inside of launchsettings.json. And if we look in here, we see my ASPNET core environment is development, and here it's development for either profile, whether I'm IS Express or running as just Kestrel, which is what this one does. And you can these two things here, these profiles, actually drive Visual Studio's user interface, which is kind of cool, right? There's not many things in your typical project that will change how Visual Studio's menus and stuff work, but this does. So here, this dropdown is a list of these profiles, and so you can modify the names of these things if you want, and it will change them. Well, I don't know why one isn't saying IS Express. That's different than usual. That's weird. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry. Does it? No? No, that's the right one. Yeah, this is not behaving the way it usually does. I'm not sure why that's like that. Let me see if I rebuild, if that changes at all. Probably not. Huh. If I rename that. That is totally not doing what I just said it would do. Weird. What version am I on here? It's still 2017. Okay. Well, normally, for the last 2 years, every time I've shown this, this has been how it's worked, but I'm not sure why it's behaving a little differently for me right now. I am running on a different machine than I usually do, so maybe this is some preview build of Visual Studio. 15.9.8. So I don't think that's anything weird. You can use this installer to see what you have installed. And that's not what I want. I want to see this. I have Enterprise Preview, but 15.9.8 is just the regular version. That's not a preview. And that's what I'm running right now. So this preview I can get rid of. Yeah, I don't know why it's not doing what I would think. Maybe because I don't... Oh, I know what it is. I figured it out. This needs to be the startup project. And since I just cloned this thing from GitHub, for whatever reason, it never remembers that. So now, look at that. Now it's working. And there's my label with the 2 on it that I added. And then I save that and rebuild it. Boom. There we go. Now I'm happier. Now it's working the way I expect. Okay. Are the profiles from the launch settings for the DevBetter web.web? Yes. I think you were trying to help, and I think I got it. Yep, thanks. Okay. Alright, so we can change things here. We could do stuff like, I could see what this thing wants to run like in production. So I could come down here, I could add another one of these, and if I get my commas and everything lined up right, I can say this is DevBetter web in production, and I can do here, I can say this is production, and then rebuild and view over here, and I'll see them both there. And if I switch over to this prod one and we run it, we should see that at the very top here it's going to say production, which it did. So if we look right here, hosting environment is production. Alright, so that's an easy way for you to switch environments. It doesn't necessarily help me with my test concern, but we'll do that next. Alright, so we'll shut that down. There's our site running. I said stop. You can stop. Alright. So next, let's look at startup. There's a cool feature of startup, which is that each one of these methods is dynamic. Like this whole class is dynamic. That's one of the things that you maybe don't realize as a C# developer, where everything is normally strongly typed. Startup is not strongly typed, meaning like yes, it's a class and yes, it has strong typing, but the way the web host interacts with it is not through a type contract. Right, startup doesn't use some interface. It doesn't inherit from any particular class, like base type. It just follows a convention. And so when the web host goes to call these methods on here, it has some additional rules that you may not be aware of. Like, if I give it a configure development services method instead of configure services, that'll get called when I'm in the development environment instead. And so if I want to make it so that in production I use a real database and in development I don't, that's one approach to making that happen. So let's try that on for size. Let's say that I want to have configure services as my default, and in configure services I'm going to set this up. I want to add the DB context in one place but not the other. And what have I got here? I've got a container. This looks like it's old code using structure map. So at some point I want to probably change that out too. Alright, so the entry point for this is going to be whichever environment. So let's do production. Let's say I only want to use a real SQL Server in production. So we'll say public, service provider. We're going to wrap the other one. And we'll say configure production services. iServices collection services. Alright, so this is going to call the other one. Return configure services with the services, like that. But I want to do this in here with SQL Server. So we'll turn that to that and switch out this. And since I'm doing that here, I want to make sure that I don't also set it down here. Right? I only want it to use it one or the other. And we'll keep that and switch this back to DB name. Okay. So the way I could do that is I could have a property that's set on the class. I could pass in another parameter into this thing, which I can't really do because then it won't work when web host tries to call it. I could dynamically check inside of services and see if it already has an entry for DB context. That's probably the right way to do it. Let's try the property-based approach, or even a field. So just as an example, I don't know if I'll keep this, but we could say something like private bool, is DB context added, right? And that's going to equal false, which it defaults to anyway. And then we'll say here, we'll say if not is DB context added, then we're going to add it, right? And we'll set it to true. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll wrap that same check around this bit here. And set it to true here. Right, and that'll work as well. It's a little bit more complex, maybe even a little more brittle. So I may want to come back and consider changing this. In fact, we'll even add a to-do here. Consider changing to check services collection for DB context, right? But we'll keep it with the if check just to demonstrate that that's a thing. All right, so when we debug into this, if we're in production mode, which this still is, we're going to hit this one, which is going to create a real database connection, and then we're going to hit this one. Which brings me to another thing, which is logging. I don't have any logging on here, so let's add a logger, and then I can print out which one of these I'm doing, because it's nice to be able to know how your configuration is working at startup. So to get logging working in 2.x of ASP.NET Core, this is actually really easy. I can just add an iLogger of t, and in this case t is my type, which is startup logger, and I can hit Control dot to pull in the logging namespace, and Control dot again to create and initialize a field or property. I'm going to do a field, and I'm going to rename it underscore because that's how I like to do my private variables. And then I don't need this. Alright, so now I've got a logger, and by default, program.cs, let's look at that for a second. When we do this create default builder, it sets up a logger that's already going to log to the console for me. So without me writing any code, there's already a console logger in place. Alright, so then in here, I can do some logging. You can see logger, log information, configuring production services, right? And then I can say, likewise, in here, adding, this is going to be a real SQL server, adding real SQL server DB context. And then down here, we'll just add here that says we're adding an in-memory DB context. Now I haven't done anything with the identity DB context, which is separate, and that's over here. But let's test this out and see what it's doing. Alright, so the site still runs, so that's a good sign. And we can come up here and we can see in our logging, we say, okay, we ran in production, configuring production services, adding real SQL Server DB context, did not do an in-memory data store. Now here you see it saved one thing to the in-memory store, but that's because I haven't done the identity DB context yet. So in this app there's 2 DB contexts, and I've only changed one of them so far. But this is showing that that seems like it worked. Okay, so it's using in-memory. Alright, so we'll kill this. We'll make the same change to identity. So we'll just steal this whole block there, and come over here, and this thing has a configure, and it calls, what is this doing? When I call configure, it calls configure services. Interesting. It's doing it slightly differently. Alright, so since this is not calling startup, I can't leverage the conventions. Hey Rhinosaurus, welcome. I can't leverage my convention of using configure production services here. I've got to do a check against this web host builder context to see which status I'm in. So I can say something like if context dot hosting environment equals production, do one thing, otherwise do the other thing. Which is actually a little bit simpler. So we'll take that and put it in here, and then we'll just add an else statement, do it the other way. Let's see, so I don't need that. And in production, hosting environment dot environment name. There we go. If we're in production, then I don't want to do in memory. I do want to do SQL Server, and I will want to log it. We'll see if we can get to the logger here in a second. Otherwise, we'll do the in-memory thing. We don't need that. That goes there. Right? We add all these things. None of that changes. That goes away. Okay. Now, do I care about getting a logger? I can do that off of services. Right? Services dot. I probably have to make a provider. I wonder if I can just inject. This might support dependency injection. I think it probably does. So let's try that first. Let's see if I need an iLogger of identity hosting startup like that, and we'll just do that and then do that and then rename it. There's a place I can change that. I just haven't gotten around to it on this build of Visual Studio to set my preference for using this underscore prefix. Alright, so then if that's the case, I can do in here, one further in, logger.log information, configuring real SQL Server for identity, otherwise in memory. Alright, now let's see what happens if I run this. We'll see if we can get our logger. Does not look good. Boom. Alright, so let me do it from here. I'm just running it from the command line so I can get all the log output without the window closing on me, like it just did. Alright, so there's no configuration specified for iRole store of identity role. Startup exception cannot resolve a service of identity role manager. Blah blah blah. That's not the error I would expect. Service type role manager. That is a weird error to get. I think it's because I'm asking for this logger. I bet if I get rid of this, and this, and this, I'll bet that's going to work. Because I don't think I can do DI on that thing. And it seems I'm right. Alright, so it's running with a DB in-memory DB context because I didn't tell it to run in production. Here it is telling me it's running in development mode. And any framework initialized identity DB context with in-memory. So even though I don't have my logging telling me, I do see the logging, the default info logging telling me that it's in memory. So it seems like this is working. And given that, now if I want to run it in release mode, I should have a real database. So let's shut this down and verify we have a real database. So to verify I have a real database, I'm going to actually look at the database. That's interesting. Oh, I didn't create the database on this machine yet. Right, okay. Let's see. Do I have SQL Server on this machine? I thought I did. Maybe we won't use the real database. Alright, fine. So on this machine, I'm going to stick to in-memory. I'll get SQL installed, or at least I'll locate it. I'm 99% sure it's on there. Right, that's the wrong one. let's get back into here and open a new PowerShell and back to the root. There we go. And we're going to do another git commit just to make it so that something just popped up on Chatty that I missed. Alright, I'm going to add a new commit. So git status, show me what I'm doing. Alright, just doing that. Good. I'm going to add configuring in memory for any non-production environment. Okay, and now that should not work. Why are you not working now? HTTP request exception. But then it looks like it worked. I don't know why that happened. That's weird. Okay, let's see what's going on the server. We don't need these anymore. We are here and here. Let's look at our builds. Alright, so that is happening. There's that. The build should take 2 seconds. Now, even though it's in a release mode, that's not the same as a production environment. So when you compile, you've got choices between debug mode and release mode, which have to do with which compile time artifacts, like the PDB files and stuff, get created and deployed. It's not the same as how you're going to actually run it. Even though they sound similar, because there's a debug mode and a release mode versus a development environment and a production environment. Alright, so .NET build takes about 40 some seconds, I think. And now you want a Frappuccino. No, this is no Frappuccino, man. This is a Shamrock Shake. These are the best. Courtesy of my beautiful wife, who stopped by 2 minutes before I was getting ready to start here, and was like, "Here, have a Shamrock Shake." I was like, "Okay." Alright. This is taking a while. This should be faster than this. Oh, they're basically like mint chocolate chip. They taste like mint chocolate chip ice cream. So if you've had that, that's kind of what they taste like. Do I like McRibs? I have not had a McRib in 20 years, and they were not good at the time. That's why I haven't had any. So probably no. But to be fair, I have not had one in forever. And now you want a Shamrock Shake. Yep. I should have McDonald's as a sponsor for my stream today. Alright, let's see. Build completed, maybe, someday? Come on. Finish up. It's been like 2 minutes. Hey, you've got this logger you never use. Yeah, I know. I'll clean it up. And we're testing. And we're done. No. So I see a liveman.json file in here, which I haven't used, where I generally use npm. Does liveman just use npm under the hood? I don't honestly know. Maybe? Yeah, I'm not familiar with how liveman works under the covers. There's not much front-end stuff going on here. The test succeeded. Everything's happy. Alright, good. So the liveman stuff that's in here, whatever of it there is really just stuff that came with my templates. It's nothing I've added or looked into much. So eventually I might, but for now it's just, you know, boilerplate code. And alright, so we got 7 tests passing. At some point I'm going to add some more of those tests. But the next thing I want to do is first verify that the build fails when a test fails. That I think I've already got. And then show a pull request that has a failing test. So let's do that. I already set up, I think. I set this up so it requires pull requests to go through that check. So here in the master, require status checks before merging, blah, blah, blah. That should all be good. So let's add a test, and we can go find, let's see if we have any real code we can test. Like, let's say that I forgot to add this, right? Then I could say archive video question should not be null when I create a new archive video. That would be an easy unit test to write. So I can come in here, and I can just copy this class. Packages are pulled from the library you select. Thanks Knight0323 for the assistance there. And Ryan, thanks for following. That actually plays music on my end, which I don't recall having set up before, so that's cool. Now I know what that is. Alright, so my way I want to name this is to say archive video is the class I'm testing. And it's really just when I create it, so we'll call it new. And then in here, that's my thing. We're going to call this archive video new. What I want initializes list of questions. And there, I got another different sound for when you used a bit. Cool, thank you. Gertab1223. Alright, so there's initialize list of questions. Don't need that. Alright, so this is just going to be a var video equals new archive video, like that. Now that is helping me understand how some of these other streamers know when people are doing things while they're in the middle of doing stuff, is it must be playing sounds they can hear. I was thinking they had to watch their stream to see the animations and stuff, but the sound makes a lot more sense. Alright, so there's that. I need a using statement. And then I really just want to say assert, I want it to be a assertion that it's a certain type, and also that it's not null. So we'll say assert.notNull video.questions, and that's going to fail right now. And you guys are still talking about live man. That's cool. Watching your own streams is the best way to get viewers. After the fact, I assume, right? Are you saying I can just boost up my viewer numbers by having myself watching it in a bunch of different tabs or something? Like, are you saying I'd get real viewers or fake viewers? Alright, so let's run this test. It should fail, because I commented out that code. Test ran, it finished, cert null, failure. Where's my code lens? It should show me the failing test here. It's over here, but it's not right here. Visual Studio is being weird on me. Okay, but it did fail, so let's just commit this thing and see what happens. So I want it to be in a new branch. Git branch, no, git checkout -b dash failing test, and then we'll add everything. Adding a failing test, and we'll push that. And the first time it always wants me to do this. It's still doing this HTTP exception. I don't know what that's from, but it's going to let me do it. So now I can come out here, right, and go to my pull request, and it should helpfully say, hey, you've got this one. Let's do a pull request on that, and this should break the build. Create this pull request. And now we're doing this, some checks haven't completed yet. It's waiting for the status. And that is keyed to this build here in Azure DevOps. Configuring, did that. And now this is going to kick off with my new build. There's that. Alright, and we can wait for this here, and this will automatically update. And since I'm an administrator, I can override and still allow it. But otherwise, this is going to protect my master branch from having any kind of pull request that gets put in that breaks the test. Right? So we want that. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to add code coverage. So let's look at code coverage-y stuff while that build's running, because those builds are slow. So code coverage I can do a couple different ways. If I'm happy to just use Visual Studio for everything, I can just use Visual Studio code coverage and not have to do anything special, which is probably fine. Alternately, I can use like a different tool like Coverlet or something like that. And as long as it generates a code coverage report in a particular format, then I can use one of these reports here to get this type of coverage. Code coverage. There's the YAML version of the same thing. I think I want to see that YAML. So we're going to click on that. Oh yeah, and you can totally follow along in the GitHub because this is a public GitHub. So you can be watching, and if you want to be really nice, you can tell me when that thing is done so I can switch back to looking at it. Alright, so over here is doing this in computing code coverage for .NET Core with Azure DevOps and Coverlet, which I have not used Coverlet before, but I've heard good things. So we could try that. So the first thing is the coverlet.ms build that you need to install. And then we can use this, and then we can go down here and we can do that, and then we can do that, and that's got what I need right here. Right? This is going to be the collect coverage bits that I want. And then do a report generator and then publish the results. So I think these tasks are what I need to get my stuff working the way I want after I install Coverlet. So I'm going to paste this into the chat as well in case anybody else wants that link. Now let's see. First you need to install coverlet.ms build, but you didn't tell me where. I'm guessing this goes in my test project. That would make sense to me. I'm not seeing that. Okay. Alright. So let's try that. Let's see, did my test break yet over here? Nope, still waiting. Oh, there it went. Hang on. Let's go back to here. Failed checks, failed. And if you click details right from here, it should take you right to the build that failed. And so here we are. Here's my thing. Here's my failure 14 seconds ago and took 3 minutes to run. And one of these things failed, which was no big surprise. Fortunately, I have a good idea how to fix it. So let's get that build to pass. We're going to come in here. We're going to go back to archive video. And we're going to instantiate this to an actual new list, as it should be. We'll run the tests locally just to make sure they work. As you should always do before you do a pull request. By the way, I have a helpful pull request checklist that I don't refer to all that often anymore, but when I was first figuring out how pull requests work, apparently my SEO is not very good. I'm way down here, but there's an Ardalis pull request checklist, and you get the master, create the branch, write the code, commit things. That's where we're at. Create the pull request, review it. So we're in here reviewing the pull request. So if this is helpful to anyone, that's my pull request checklist. You can check out. Where was I? Make sure the tests all run. They do. Do another commit. She'll do an add. Do that and push it up. And now that should automatically make it so this thing is going to see that commit happened, right? So there's my commit. I didn't even have to refresh the page. Hey, thanks WQ Walter for subscribing. You're awesome. I appreciate it. that is nice about GitHub, is that this just shows up on the page. You don't have to refresh, and then this immediately kicks off as well. So you can see this check has started. So in like 3 minutes or so, this should fix, and I should be able to pull in that pull request. Meanwhile, we are over here, and we're looking at how to get in coverlet.msbuild, which we think needs to be added to the test project. So we're going to go here, dependencies, manage NuGet packages. That's what I want. We want coverlet.msbuild. Like that, and we'll install it. And unfortunately, I'm still doing this in my broken test branch. I probably should have branched back to master, but that's okay. That seems like that installed all right. We could test it out by running it with some of those flags like this. So we'll copy that and come in here. And run that. And that should generate a file that we can look at. So when that's done, you get one code coverage file per project. These files are not very convenient to read, but I should be able to see them. Okay, so where is that file? I don't know. Where do you put that file? It's not there. Alright, I'll have to read the docs or something to figure out where that file goes. But let's assume it worked. And it'll probably be in my Git. Nothing to commit. Alright. Collect coverage. What did I tell it? Collect coverage is true. It's got some output format. And it says here I should get one coverage file. So you would think that it would have a file somewhere in a report directory maybe. No, that's after I do this. There should be a coverage, that coberterra.xml file, which I'm not seeing. Nothing there. Alright. Well, we'll figure that out later. This thing passed? Yes. Let's get it to pass one more time by pushing this this change with that NuGet package. And what is this? Coverlet. When developing WinForms, there's a Microsoft report viewer for SQL SSRS. Have you found a way of doing this in ASP.NET Core? I haven't, WQ Walter. There's a good tool for that in WebForms. Traditional ASP.NET apps, yeah, WebForms. I don't know what the state of that is for ASP.NET Core. I have not heard that there is support for a report viewer in ASP.NET Core yet. Doesn't mean that there isn't one in the works, so that I haven't heard of it, but I haven't used it. I'm not familiar with it. Alright, so with that, we should see this other commit show up here in a second. Or not. This is not working. Why is this not working? Maybe that changed that test project. Oh, did I not save it? That must be what it is. is. Alright, apparently I had to save. Rookie mistake. Alright, so do that. Do that. Do that. I didn't think I had to save on the NuGet package modify one. I don't have the file open, but apparently I do. Alright, so now that's good. And now it sees it. It's going to run. And I'm going to merge this thing here before I do any more work inside the solution, just so I can get back on the master and I can get rid of this branch. Reporting always seems to be the legacy thing that's broken when I start looking at a code base. Easier way to do reporting than old crystal reports or SSRS, right? I agree. Reporting is kind of its own animal typically, and if you're using SSRS or crystal or something like that, the best solution I've found to that in my experience is to put that stuff into a whole separate app. Don't integrate it into your actual line of business application if you can possibly avoid it, but keep it separate and manage it separately. Alright, so this should finish here real soon now, I hope, because I want to merge it in. And then we're going to start messing with the YAML file and trying to get this stuff working. Now, the other thing I can try is that that test stuff with the code thing. It might actually work now that I've got the right NuGet package. So if we go back here, we go back here, and we do the .NET test from my history that looked like that. That might actually make a file now. Now it's calculating coverage result. Alright, cool. It blows up, but it did work. Okay, that's progress. And it didn't add any files. That's good. Okay. We'll come back to that once we get on master. Separate reporting app. Yes. Rhinosaurus agrees with me. Alright, build. Where are you at? These builds are taking like 3 minutes now, which is way too long. But I mean, I'm not paying for Azure DevOps, so it's part of that time is just waiting for this agent to initialize. Oh, that was only 4 seconds, so it's this build is taking forever. And part of the reason why the builds take a long time is because it has to do a NuGet restore every single time because it's not using a dedicated build server. Am I the Steve Smith from Visual Fox Pro Pro Matrix Framework? I am not. I don't even know that Steve Smith, although there are a bunch of Steve Smiths that are also in tech, but I don't happen to be that one. Alright, testing is about to finish. Please finish successfully. 8 passed, test run success, blah blah blah. Okay, good. Now we can merge. So even the icon here is nice. It changes, right? So you can see here that it's yellow and this one's red because it's broken. So the fave icon, and now look, it just turned green. So you can see even from the fave icon without switching tabs that this is now good to commit. So GitHub did a good job with like these kind of little things like the fave icon. We're going to squash and merge all those things. And then we're safe to delete our branch. Alright, and then according to my checklist, after I delete the branch, I can go to 1, I can say check out master pull latest. So here, in the root, yeah, git checkout master, git pull latest, and then I want to create a new branch probably right away, which we'll say is code coverage stuff. So we'll say git checkout -b Ardalis code coverage. Okay, so now I'm on my new branch, and we're going to try and figure out why this blew up. Could not find the file, XUnit reporters, netcore, app, PDB. So it needed a PDB file. Is there some reason why am I running in release? There should be a PDB file. Well, let's go look. cd test, cd dev, cd bin, cd debug, Alright, so here we go. And it was looking for what? Something or other PDB. Could not find app data local temp. Why are you looking there? XUnit runner reporter and core app PDB. Alright, I have no idea why you're looking for that. I wonder what errors occurred. You're just repeating the same error over and over again that you can't find that thing. Alright, let's read this a little more closely. So, this says multiple solutions, get Coverlet. First you need to install Coverlet. The package is integrated directly with .NET Test. Great. Maybe I need to make sure I put this in just like that. So I didn't do that. I just used the standard NuGet package manager. That probably didn't do what I needed it to. So let's edit this. Let's find where it added that. There's Coverlet. Well, it looks like it might have done the right thing. Here's what mine did, and here's what his said. And yeah, that looks the same except for version number, and mine's more recent, so I think we're okay there. Alright, so you can test everything works great by running a command collect coverage equals true. Right, well, we tried that, and it didn't work, but let's try it again. Make sure I'm in the test. Paste that command in and run it. Now if I totally can't get this working, I can always just use Visual Studio's test coverage. But I'd like to see if I can get Coverlet working, because I think it will do cross-platform, so I can run it on the Ubuntu package, or on build server, and it should still work. Go out to Google and ask for help. Coverlet, Do I need an XUnit runner reporters? Is that what I need? I don't have that. Maybe that's what I need. Let's see. XUnit runner reporters. I probably need that. This package is a fork of XUnit. That's more. There, XUnit runner reporters. Let's add that. Alright, so back in here, we're going to manage the things. XUnit.runner.reporters. And more of them. Team City app fair of us. That seems to be what I want. Okay, restore complete. Save everything. And come back down here and try this again. No. Net standard 2.0 Coverlet build. Could not find that file. XUnit runner reporters. Alright, folks viewing at home, any ideas? This dude on the internet here said all I have to do is add that and it should work. He also says to run this, but I don't think I can get this thing working until I get that other thing working. Well, let's jump ahead and try this anyway. Then it will install that. Oh, that's not going to work. Yeah. Because you have my copy paste picked up some extra characters. Oh, no it didn't. Alright, I thought those were there. Still didn't work. Port types, Coverlet. Maybe this doesn't work in PowerShell? So you're already installed. Alright. But didn't like that Coverlet thing. Alright. Let's go back to PowerShell. Who is this? Meziantu. Gerald Bar, Meziantu. You're not giving me all the things I need. Gerald Bar. Let's go back to this other post, because Gunnar, I think, had more complete instructions, although his were using the UI. So, let's make this work in the local box. Let's try that. Code coverage reports, get started. Here's all the things that you need. You also need NuGet packages to make this work. Alright, I'm going to pull these over into another window for a sec so I can make sure I've got what I need. Coverlet MS build I've got. How about Microsoft.code coverage? Does not exist. So let's see if we need that. I accept. Alright. Then we need Microsoft Net Test SDK. I think I have that. That's there. Okay, report generator. Report generator. It's a very vague name. I think that's the right one. Alright, so let's install this one. XUnit Runner Visual Studio, XUnit XML.TestLogger. Okay, I don't think I have that. For some reason my NuGet package thing just disappeared. Do that. Alright, so after installing lots of NuGet packages and crossing our fingers, let's see if this builds. Alright, so now it's time to make test build, see if everything still works. Alright, I did that, it built. Now let's configure reporting. We want to create some coverage and unit test reports for future use. I don't think I need that yet, but let's go ahead and create a build reports folder. Alright, and let's get this a little bigger so we can see it. When we run and gather code coverage and publish it in Coverlet output format, it's popular code coverage, test data is transformed by Coverlet. Coverage data, also output unit test results to unit test folder. Alright. I added an add test bat file for running unit tests that adds all these things. Alright. Well, let's go ahead and do that too. That sounds reasonable. So we're going to add a new item, which will just be a text file called, what did he call his? Add test? Run test. Good. That makes more sense. Alright, and we just wanted to include all these things. And without any carriage returns. Alright, that looks right. His build reports folder needs to have init, coverage, and unit tests. So let's go ahead and add those just so I don't have anything breaking. And then eventually I'm going to add that to my getIgnore. But we're not there yet. Can I do that from here? Source control. No. Maybe once there's something in it. Alright, so here is that runtest.bat. Let's see if that works. .NET does not recognize internal or external command. Does not like that leading character somehow. Why do you have some strange character in there? I don't know, let's try opening it in Notepad. So there's nothing there. That's frustrating. I don't know why there's a weird character in front of .NET when I try and run this. Let's take it. Let's take all of it and just paste it in here. See if it works that way. That seems to work. That's good. Hey, look at that. Now we've got some coverage. 8% code coverage. Awesome. Okay, so now we've got some data. And if we go to Team Explorer, Changes, Build Reports, I should be able to ignore these and add that to my getIgnore. Good. And I don't know why that's not working, but we'll deal with that later. Alright, so adding code coverage support, ignoring output files, creating batch file that doesn't work yet, and commit all those things. Okay, and then we can sync my changes and push those up. Alright, so that's helpful. So we got that working locally. Generate code coverage reports. We need to add another command. take that. And he's going to start the thing. Okay, so let's do that. So my batch file still doesn't work, but all the same, we'll continue with borrowing his code. So next he says do this, which is not what I just copied. Do that, alright. And we're going to throw each of these here. Like that. And then the last command he wants to do is start the thing in the browser. Now none of this actually works for me, so I'm still not sure why. Now it's working. Alright, good. Okay, cool. Maybe it's just not working from my PowerShell command. Okay. So I don't think that backslash belongs there. No executable found for .NET-report generator. Now I didn't install it the way he said, but I thought we did it previously on the other one. But let's do this. So in my configuration, edit this, and yeah, it's clearly not there. I think this needs to just go inside of an item group. Like this, and like that, and that has to have some version. So let's do a search. 4015 looks like. Alright. It used to be IntelliSense on these versions, but I think we lost that somewhere along the line. Alright, so now we've got that. We can build. Hopefully it'll pull in the thing it needs. So when we come back to here and we try and run, look at that. Look at that. And we'll open it up in Chrome. And sweet. We've got a pretty code coverage thing. And it's telling me, here's my core, here's my entities, my archive video. It's telling me it's totally uncovered. I thought I had one test that did something there, but okay. DevBetter tests, these are covered because they are the tests. That's not really useful. Alright, so I've got some pretty reports. I like that. And I can change the grouping with this little slider. That's kind of neat. Cool. Okay. That's worth a commit. So let's go back here and commit my change. When things work, I like to commit so that if they stop working, I can always get back to a working state. So show me my changes. And this will be got run tests working and outputting HTML report of coverage. Commit and sync. I don't know how to sync. There it is. Sync and push. Alright, so now that's all out there as well. What else do I need to do here? Got that working. Now I want to do the YAML work. And the YAML work I think I can mostly do without having to do pull requests and separate branches. I think I'm just going to commit that straight to master and see if I can get it working. So we're going to do a pull request now from here and take that and do my code coverage pull request. And that should kick off a build. And hopefully this works on the server as well as it worked locally. Okay, so that's doing its thing there. That'll take a minute. Close down some of these ones we're not using. Let's look back at this guy's thing here. So, done it test, configuration, no build true. That looks like a good one to add. That'll probably speed up my build. Coverage output, Coverterra, Covertura. Okay, that's good. We're going to cheat and just start messing with this before my build's even done. Save some time. We'll copy that. Come back out here to my pipeline YAML file. And try and edit this with this. Alright, so this task was just .NET test. I don't really need that build config on the display name, and I really want this to be replacing what I had, like that, and then we'll steal, well really I'm just using that whole thing, so we'll just delete this. Right? Alright, so that should generate the coverage file. Then here we're going to install globally the .NET Report Generator tool. We have to do that every time because we get a different build server every time. And after we install it, then we call it Report Generator, Reports, Tests, Coverage, yada yada yada. I don't think that path is the same path that I'm using. But maybe it'll be okay, as long as these things match. This thing didn't say where to put the coverage output, so hopefully that'll go there. Publish the result. Hopefully that works. Alright, we're going to see adding code coverage stuff. Now we wait for some builds. Alright, that one's completed, that one's good. Send my pull request, I should be able to merge. I probably just goofed it up because it's out of date. Yeah, it's my fault. I can still just do it. But let's update it. That's just going to grab that YAML file. And we'll just force it now. Administrative privilege. We can delete that branch. Now I can go back to my code. Here. I just want to get back on master here. And I'm in the right place. No, I'm not. Now I'm in the right place. Cool. Alright, another pull request is finished. Now I want to get that code coverage badge here is what I'm working toward. If we go to shields.io, I think it might even have a default. Code coverage, Azure DevOps coverage. I think that might do it. For a branch, no, just for the whole thing. So if you haven't seen shields.io, it has all kinds of like little badges you can put on or shields you can put on. I don't see one for Coverlet specifically, but theoretically if it's Azure DevOps coverage, if I've got that publishing correctly, then this ought to work. So if I can copy that and paste it into my README file. Alright, so my organization here is Ardalis. My project is DevBetter Web. And my definition, I think, is still 5. It seems to be what I'm using for everything here. So with that, I can preview. Coverage is 0. That sounds about right. But it's not an error. So adding coverage batch. Commit. Alright, so there's that. Now eventually I would like to get to more of this type of sparkline thing. We'll get to that. I think I got all of Gunner's stuff working. We're about to see if this is going to work. It's going to give me a code coverage result there. New tab is available called code coverage. That's interesting. I'll have to check that out. So here, if I look at my builds, this one failed, which means this one will probably fail too. Git fetch failed. Why would git fetch fail? I probably deleted them. Yeah, that's my fault. I deleted the branch before this thing had a chance to finish. This one should be a valid build though. I don't see a code coverage tab on here like he's showing. Maybe that just hasn't finished up yet. But this one is showing log, summary, test, and code coverage. The result is reported on GitHub. That's cool. Yeah, so let's wait for this thing to finish and see what we get. Yeah, at some point I have to get rid of that logger. Here we go. Run the tests. There's only 8 of them, they should pass. And they do. It took 20 seconds, which seems like a long time. And then why'd you fail? The test passed. Could not find file xunit running utility. It's that same PDB file. Alright, I fixed that by adding NuGet packages. Did you not do a restore? You must have done a NuGet restore somewhere along the line, because that should have pulled everything in. Let's see. Azure pipelines, YAML, NuGet restore. Right, I want this. I want to force it to do a NuGet restore. See if that fixes it. And it's showing me how to do that. YAML snippet for downloading a package. I don't know which package I need. There we go. So perhaps that's what I want. Right, so we're going to copy that and see if that fixes it. Because I'm pretty sure that's what I did to fix it on my side, was add a NuGet package and rebuild. Right, and since I'm saying here not to rebuild, I really think I want the NuGet thing to be the first thing I do, which it should be doing anyway, but let's make sure that it's grabbing whatever it needs. Let's see if that works. I'm 10% confident that that's going to fix it. Anybody want to bet? What do you bet? Is it going to work? Nobody? You guys are awfully quiet. Alright, we should know real fast if that's going to work. Yeah, it's not. Okay, it's because I don't have a NuGet config. That's fine, I wondered about that. Maybe I don't need a NuGet config path though? What if I get rid of that? I really just want you, actually, you know what? I really just want you to do a .NET restore. So we'll just do this script .NET restore display name .NET restore. The .NET build ought to do this if it needs to, but it's not. Alright, the restore actually is working this time. Let's find out now if this pulls in the thing that I need. I'm tired of standing still, so I'm going to start walking. I have a standing/treadmill desk, so after a while standing it gets old. It's actually better to walk than just to stand. Alright. Did that, doing a restore again. Like, I knew it was already restoring. At least now it's fast. There's the client-side libraries. I could probably disable that for these builds to make them faster, but I don't think they were too terribly slow. The .NET Restore took over a minute. That's definitely where a lot of my time is going. Alright, so build's good. Do the tests. Moment of truth here. Is it going to find that stupid PDB file that it's looking for? Because at this point we're in it works on my machine land. Alright, test pass. And could not find that file. Man. Alright. So everything else fails. So why is it having that issue that I had here, there? Could not find the file temp xunit runner utility. Everything's checked in that it needs. Everything works fine on my machine. Right? The difference is that Azure Pipeline YAML file is not running the same commands that I have set up to run here. So I'm calling .NET Report Generator and telling it what logger to use. So if I put these commands into my YAML, maybe they will work. Yeah, these definitely work locally. Generates all kinds of report files. Like 45 different files. But it doesn't work on the server because it can't find xunit runner utility some good PDB. Could not find file that. That's not helpful. None of that's helpful. Coverlet retry helper. Could not find that file. Yep, that's about what I'm getting. And use this. Okay, cool. And that is on my batch file, but it's not probably in my YAML file, right? So let's take that, let's put that into something I can see. With word wrap, then let's bring this up next to it. Okay. Alright, so here, so a YAML file, we're going to edit over here. Make this nice and big as well. Alright, so when I do .NET test, here with these arguments, I say .NET test configuration /p click coverage is true. I can't see it. Alright. It won't actually let me scroll left to right. Alright. Probably want this to just match. So configuration, that can stay, but the rest of it, we'll just grab all this and we'll just stick it right here. Maybe. Now it's going to go to build reports coverage, which means down here, this needs to go to build reports coverage. Those are going to have to match. Right, okay, .NET report generator. Let's just pull this. I think that is here. I think that is here. Alright, we'll see if all that works. So let's try it. Commit. Alright, so with that, let's go see how we're doing. Go back to our builds. That didn't take long. Did not find expected key, line 28. Alright, so I've broken the whole YAML file at this point. Line 28. That's busted. That's not even the right color. So probably I've got a missing carriage return or something. Or an opening quote that never ended. There's an opening single quote there that I probably copy pasted over and didn't get rid of. Looks like. Arguments. Do I see another example of arguments? Do I need to put that single quote at the end? Let's try that. Trying to fix a typo. Hey, Silverlight. How's it going? We're working on getting code coverage working for a project. We've got it working locally, but we're trying to get it out on Azure DevOps. Well, it didn't fail immediately, so that's progress. This restore takes like a minute. See how that goes. In the meantime, I'm on master. Let's add some more tests, try and get our test coverage up. To do that, we need something to test that actually does something. So let's do an add question thing. That's an easy one. Like that. And we'll say if question not equal null. We'll probably change that around later. But questions dot add question like that. Like that. And then down here in our core entities archive video, create a new class, archive video, add question, does nothing given null question, like that, and then the other check will be adds question to questions list. Link. Okay, so let's pull this into its own file, and then let's run all our tests. Well, I'm glad that this is more exciting than watching your HD Insight cluster deployment. Alright, so my question is, can I get my code coverage up? So let's run these tests again, and here's my output. I don't know what level I want this to be, but archive video here, there should be some test coverage of this. I wonder why that's not working. Right? So archive video. I feel like my test coverage isn't really working. It's telling me I got 0%, but I know I ran tests that hit this. So I have to work on figuring that out. Yeah, that's not useful. Let's try this again. I don't feel like it ran the tests. Like it ran too fast. How many tests does it think ran? It doesn't say. Yeah, it's still failing on this .NET with this weird character. I don't know why it's doing that. This other one works fine. I wonder if I just start on its own line, maybe it'll be happier. I can't do it there. Let's go back here. It's actually running the test now. I really don't know where that invisible character is. There, that's better. Now look at that. Now we've got real coverage. Archive video, 100% coverage. Perfect. Hey, no content. Welcome. Also married with 4 kids. What? Why is that funny? Keeps me busy. Alright, let's see if this is working. No. Alright, I cannot get this to work on the server. It keeps telling me, well, now it's telling me no test result files were found. Well, that's a different error at least. Probably has to do with those folders I've been messing with. So if we look at .NET Test, .NET Test didn't do much at all. Only one project can be specified, so it got confused. Okay. I gotta change the YAML again. So let's go back here. Let's look at our YAML for the .NET Test task. Trying to make it match the other one I've got. I've only got one test project. Let's see, argument, configuration, logger, is it? Okay. Because how I read it is that you're married with 4 kids instead of married and having 4. Oh, you mean like, I see. I'm not sure. I would say married to 4 kids to make it sound like that. Like, at least in American English that I'm familiar with, when we say married, we always say married to, not married with. Like, I'm not married with my wife, I'm married to my wife. Is that the funny aspect? Alright, I'm trying to figure out this line, right? And it's hard because it spans way the heck over here. And it has all these /p whatever things on it. Right now that's failing. And it's got parameter, build reports, unit tests, right, results directory. But the projects isn't working. Arguments, pass all the arguments, .NET Test, .NET Core, .NET Test, all that. Yeah, I'm walking right now. It helps me think sometimes. Sometimes I need to stop to think. but I was getting tired of standing still. So I'd like to get this to work before I'm done. And it was working pretty well before. Let's go look at this guy's file here. So here's his .NET test. Alright, some people can't even chew gum and walk. Well, anything with practice, you know? Alright, so single quote, that's going to be another one at the end of that line, right? Yeah, single quote, so that's fine. But the things that I need to add to that are all these items. I need the exclude X unit, which I've got. Where's the other quote for that though? It's weird that there doesn't have a closing quote. Where is that? Where is that? Where is the excluding quote on that? Why is that like that? Why does that even work? That's weird. I feel like there should be a quote there. Maybe. Unless maybe that's not. Yeah, that should probably have that. Let's see if that causes me to break anything locally. It still runs locally. Yay. Okay, so let's see if that fixes anything. I doubt that it will, but you never know. There's that. Now what seems to be the problem is this project reference. I'm not sure I even need that. What if I get rid of that? Can I just comment that out? Like that? Alright, running over time here. I usually try and be done around 2, but I also usually have something I'm trying to get working at the end, like today. So we're going to go for a few more minutes and see if I can get this thing working. I feel like we're so close. And of course, it doesn't help that it takes 2 or 3 minutes every time just to test if this thing works. Works fine locally. And locally, when I run .NET test, it runs my tests because it doesn't know what test to run. Just run for that. That time I had a bunch of error output. Unable to read beyond the end of the stream. That's weird. Coverlet, unable to read beyond the end of the stream. Of the stream. Have you ever tried out Checkins, or do you prefer Azure pipelines? I've used Checkins as well. Yeah, my favorite actually is TeamCity. The thing that has me using Azure pipelines is, one, a lot of my clients use it because Microsoft's doing a great job of gaining market share with it. And two, it is free to add to any GitHub project, and it's like 3 clicks and you're done. So between those two things, I've been leaning toward it, even though I like a lot of the features of some of the other ones better. Alright, somebody tell me what's causing this problem. Maybe down here at the end it'll tell me. Does not look like they totally fixed this. Yes, TeamCity can do a NuGet server built in. Of course, for that matter, for a local private NuGet repo, yeah, NuGet feed, FYI, I mean, you can just drop it in a file share and it just works. So you don't need an actual NuGet server necessarily. Alright, this still blew up. No test result files were found. .NET test with all the things. There's my results. I don't know why Node has all these things. I should figure that out and get rid of it. MS-build project file does not exist. Alright, yeah, it's because I didn't tell you where to go to look for the project file, but locally I didn't do that either and it worked. So how is it that this works? .NET test, build started, build completed, test run for that test DLL. So somehow my local finds it just fine. But out here it doesn't. They're totally not matching up at all. On here it's doing all this node stuff. I'm not sure why it's doing that. And it's not finding a project file. And locally it's finding a project file just fine and everything works. So is it a difference because this one's running Unix? Is it a difference because I'm not running the same command? I'm trying to make the commands match up. I did tell it to ignore these projects. Let's try changing that. There is a test folder that should work, that used to work. Let's see what that does. Any YAML experts on here? One of the things I do like about Azure DevOps is the YAML file makes it pretty easy to make these changes. You know, when they work, I should say. But you know, once I get it working on one, I can copy paste the settings, the YAML file, between projects, and also I can see the history of what all I changed in source control, which is really nice. As opposed to, like, say, TeamCity, where typically I can duplicate a build if I want to, but I don't typically have the build settings checked into source control. I think the newest version of TeamCity supports that, and probably Checkins does as well, but it's just not something I've used as much. I don't remember, did I ever push my change with those extra tests? I'm not sure I did. Nope. Hey, Baker, thanks for the follow. Ooh, wait a minute. That's not what I want. I want those to be ignored. Don't. No. have to forget about them. I hate that. Let's see, go back here. Where are those things? They must be in here. I thought this was already ignored though. There's a report folder? Where the heck is that report folder? Right there. I'm just going to delete that thing. Right. Not sure what the syntax is to add that to git ignore. Guess we'll just do it manually. Maybe I can do it from here. Doesn't Jenkins have this with Jenkins Blue Ocean? I don't know, I haven't heard of Jenkins Blue Ocean. Is it a cloud-based build thing that they offer? Alright, my builds are still failing. But look, they're taking longer. That's a good sign. But no, not really. Let's see. Only one project can be specified. I saw that error before, I don't know why. Alright, I'm probably going to have to call it, and I'll have to get back to this later. Hopefully before next Friday, but I do accept pull requests, so if any of you want to figure out what the deal is with this and give me a pull request here on DevBetter Web, that would be awesome. But for now, we have a failing build with no tests running and 0% code coverage. I could roll this back to at least get the tests to run so that I'll see our 10 tests, but I'm trying to get this code coverage thing working. So we'll leave it alone for now until I can fix it. With that said, I think Clark.io is probably online. So let me jump to my dashboard and perhaps we'll do a quick raid on him so you folks can all enjoy whatever it is he's working on. Let's see. Yeah, he seems to be around with like 40 people because he's so much cooler than I am. I'm going to send y'all over there. But thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon, and hopefully you got something out of it. And I'll try and get this working here in the next week, either on stream or if not on stream, I'll just recap what it was next time I'm online. Alright, thanks a lot. I'll catch you later. We're sending you over to Clark.io.